Chapter 1. An Unknown Evolution Path. Aspen Grove Village Pet Beast Service Center. The scorching afternoon heat made it hard to stay awake. Is anyone here? Please save my Nene. The service center's worn-out doors were flung open, and a young girl in a light yellow dress burst in. Her sweet voice was now filled with panic and desperation. Please calm down a bit. Can you explain the situation clearly? The young man at the front desk, dressed in a light blue service uniform, spoke in a gentle tone. Perhaps there was some magic in his voice because, in an instant, the anxious girl felt her heart steady considerably. My Nene, my pet beast, Nene, used its sacrifice strike to protect me. Sob, sob. Hearing this, Asher nodded. He glanced at the fragile creature in the girl's arms, an insect-type pet beast named Nene. Pale pink in color and nearly 50 centimeters long, it was barely hanging on. Asher then turned his gaze to the semi-transparent, simplistic interface beside Nene, visible only to him, like an old, cheaply made game panel. Pet beast Nene. Species low grade. Level first tier peak. Skills: honey production, sacrifice strike. Evolution path: fairy butterfly. Eligible for evolution. Due to protecting its beast master, Nene used sacrifice strike, resulting in the rupture of its honey sac. Nene has a strong will to survive. It can undergo surgery to remove the ruptured honey sac, which will allow it to evolve afterward. A honeybee creature ready to evolve. Asher's eyes brightened as he looked at the dying Nene. In the past half-month, this was the first time he'd encountered a honeybee with evolutionary potential. It wasn't his fault for being so shocked. Just 2 weeks ago, 22-year-old Asher Snow had been reborn into this parallel world in the body of his 17-year-old self. Having been an orphan, Asher quickly accepted his new life without much fuss. This was a world where extraordinary powers existed. Animals, plants, and even natural forces like thunder and rain had the potential to awaken supernatural abilities and become extraordinary beings. With that, a few gifted humans could awaken the beast space within them, unlocking special powers and gaining the ability to tame these extraordinary creatures. As a high school student who had awakened a beast space, 17-year-old Asher was one of the lucky few qualified to become a beast master. Asher's inherent talent, affinity boost, came with his beast space. Anyone, beast or human, who made eye contact with him or heard his voice felt an instinctive sense of warmth and goodwill. It wasn't much, but it worked. Since Asher had awakened his beast space and was qualified as a beast master, the government provided his school and living expenses through high school and university. During summer and winter breaks, the Alliance arranged work-study jobs to cover his expenses, minimizing his chances of dropping out and wasting his talent. Perhaps it was a skill that came with his soul because, after awakening Affinity Boost, Asher had discovered a second talent upon arriving at the Aspen Grove Village Pet Beast Service Center. Eye of Insight, or as he liked to call it. Whenever he focused on an extraordinary creature, a semi-transparent, crude panel appeared beside it, visible only to him. The panel displayed basic information about the creature and its potential evolution paths. At first, Asher hadn't realized the importance of his Eye of Insight. But after flipping through the pet beast breeding manual to pass time in the service center, he came to understand just how powerful this skill was. A honeybee? In the market, it costs 50 yuan, and it can be easily found in the forest. Timid by nature, any raised voice from a beast master can trigger its suicide. Aside from the particularly sweet honey it produces, its only skill is sacrifice strike, a desperate move to protect its master at the cost of its own life. It is considered one of the weakest beasts, but it has an evolution path. Either it's rare or odd. In the 1,200 years since extraordinary creatures had appeared in this world, no one had ever discovered an evolution path for honeybees. Asher had long wanted to capture one and experiment, but he hadn't found a single honeybee that met the evolution requirements. Until today. Though this pet beast isn't mine, it is still worth a try. These thoughts flashed through his mind in an instant. Asher shifted his gaze from Nene back to the girl holding her and gave her a reassuring smile. Miss, I'm Ivy. Just call me Ivy. All right, Ivy. He paused, then spoke again. I understand the situation. Your pet Nene used Sacrifice Strike. You're hoping to save it, right? Ivy nodded earnestly. Yes, that's right. Are you sure about this? Asher held her gaze, his tone serious as he asked once more. Honeybees like Nene are common and naturally timid. The fact that your Nene survived this long is already remarkable. To treat her, we'd need to remove her honey sac. From that point on, Nene would be no different from a regular creature. Even if the surgery is successful, Nene might still become depressed and end her life. And the cost of the treatment will far exceed Nene's actual worth. Even knowing this, do you still want to go through with it? Though it was unlikely this particular Nene would suffer such effects, Asher still felt obliged to ask. After all, using the treatment equipment wasn't cheap. My Nene won't give up on life. Even so, I still want to save her. Nene is my first pet and a part of my family. And as for the money, I have my savings. Ivy's delicate brows furrowed slightly. She bit her lip, yet her voice remained firm and unwavering. Asher didn't refuse her again. He merely took a treatment form from the front desk, filled in the basic information, and handed it to Ivy. Once you sign, I could take Nene to the treatment room. Ivy quickly scribbled her name on the form, as if afraid he'd change his mind. In less than 5 minutes, Asher walked around the desk and opened a nearby glass door. Immediately, a wave of cool air swept over them. The sudden chill made Ivy's exposed skin shiver slightly. Unlike the worn front desk, which had only an old electric fan, the glass door felt like a gateway to another world. White walls, clean, orderly hallways, 3 treatment rooms with closed doors. From one of the rooms, faint voices could be heard. Asher kept his gaze forward, heading to the last treatment room and opening the door. One look inside left Ivy speechless in shock. So much equipment. Wow! An energy restoration chamber, a physiological recorder, a life support machine. Among the various pieces of equipment, Ivy could only recognize a few familiar ones. Place Nene here. Asher opened the transparent capsule of the life support machine, gesturing for Ivy to put Nene inside. Now, it was time to witness a miracle. Chapter 2, Removal and Evolution. Asher closed the capsule door and activated the pet beast life support machine. A red light blinked on, and a faint, milky white mist filled the capsule. Is that all it takes? Ivy asked softly from the side. She'd only ever heard of this machine's name. Seeing it in action was a first. Asher, his eyes fixed intently on Nene in the capsule, responded gently. Just this alone won't be enough. The life support machine only eases the physical trauma caused by Nene's sacrifice strike. If we want Nene to fully recover, we'll need to remove her ruptured honey sac. Sacrifice strike, a skill that sounded like a desperate last attack, but it wasn't exactly so. In reality, sacrifice strike allowed a pet beast to draw power from a vital organ, exchanging it for a momentary burst of strength within 10 seconds. The power of this strike varied depending on the pet beast's level and abilities. Once sacrifice strike was used, the pet beast wouldn't die immediately. As long as the beast master acted quickly and the pet had a strong enough life force, it could be saved with modern medical techniques. But a creature like Nene, from her low-grade status alone, it was clear she didn't even qualify as a truly extraordinary creature. No effective combat skills. Even with sacrifice strike, it was barely better than nothing. Her lifespan was only slightly longer than that of a common insect, usually lasting about 10 to 15 years. In contrast, true beasts had lifespans that started at 100 years. For a honeybee-type pet beast like Nene, the honey sac occupied nearly 2/3 of her body. When the honey sac was ruptured, it was often deemed fatal. Even if it could be saved, as Asher had said, most honeybugs would become so depressed over their inability to produce honey that they'd end up taking their own lives. Hearing once more that Nene's honey sac would need to be removed, Ivy's expression dimmed. She lowered her head, her long, dark hair falling gently by her ears as she sank into sadness. "It's all my fault," Ivy murmured softly, her voice tinged with a hint of sobbing. Nene did it to protect me. As Nene's breathing began to stabilize, Ivy finally felt herself relax. Watching Nene in the capsule and with Asher by her side, Ivy, for the first time in a long while, felt a sense of warmth. The urge to confide surged within her. Asher didn't interrupt her. Through Ivy's broken narration, he pieced together the story. Nene was a gift from her grandfather, who had left her this small companion as a keepsake. After his passing, with her relationship with her parents strained, Ivy began to see Nene as her family. She cherished Nene, giving her boundless love and even a special name, Nene. She didn't care that Nene was weak or had a short lifespan, nor did she mind if Nene's presence might hinder her path as a full-fledged beast master. But her parents cared. Their daughter, who had the potential to become a beast master, had chosen to bond with one of the weakest pet beasts. As parents often do, they imposed their own ideals, claiming it was all for her own good. They had even chased her to the countryside, hoping to correct her choices. This was what led to the incident where Nene had to use sacrifice strike to protect her beast master. Nene will be fine. Medical technology is very advanced these days. When it came to family and parental matters, even Asher hesitated. He didn't have parents himself, but he'd heard of parents whose behavior could feel suffocating. All he could think was, different world, different society, but some things never change. In a soft tone, he guided her thoughts away. All right, Nene's vital signs are stable now. Next is the removal of her honey sac. At these words, Ivy snapped out of her gloom, her gaze quickly shifting to Nene. Opening the capsule, Asher put on a pair of special latex gloves, carefully lifting Nene and transferring her onto a cold, silvery metal instrument beside him. Several needles, almost as long as Nene herself, were positioned around her. Ivy watched with tightly clenched fists, her fear and anxiety plain as day. Nene, my Nene, are those needles really not going to hurt her? She could barely bear to watch. Don't worry. All the equipment and medical devices in the service center are provided by the Beast Master Alliance. The treatment quality is no different from that of the pet beast service centers in the city. Asher's words eased Ivy's nerves. If it's provided by the Alliance, it must be reliable, right? When Asher first saw the equipment, he had been equally surprised. A village's pet beast service center, yet so well-equipped? But after learning that no healing-type extraordinary creatures had ever been discovered, the nation had begun pushing scientific medical research forward with great urgency. Over 800 years of effort had led to this world's advanced scientific medical technology, outpacing every other field. This ensured that, from cities to rural towns, every place had easy access to comprehensive medical equipment. So no matter where a certified beast master was, their pet beasts could receive the best care and treatment. The staff at service centers and clinics rarely operated the machines themselves. Their main role was to calm the beast masters who brought in their pets. After all, skilled beast masters tended to have rather interesting personalities. Ahem. Ivy, you could try encouraging Nene a bit more. Removing the honey sac will be a bit painful. Asher's words made Ivy's heart jump again. Nene, hang in there. If you get better, I'll buy you your favorite baling flower honey, all right? She spoke with nervousness, but tried to keep her voice soft and encouraging. Asher raised an eyebrow. Baling flower honey? Isn't that honey infused with extraordinary power, the one that cost a fortune, 600 alliance coins per gram? Suddenly, he understood why this honeybee's will to live was so strong. Because Ivy had given her pet the love it needed. The honey sac removal was simple. With the machine's operation, it didn't even count as surgery. A needle entered Nene's body, breaking down the ruptured honey sac into liquid, which was then drawn out through another needle. The entire process lasted less than 10 minutes, and Nene's honey sac was completely removed. Her breathing was steady, with no signs of depression. Nene's once rounded abdomen slightly flattened, and the honey outlet slowly faded, a sign she was losing her former powers. Ivy didn't mind at all. A smile, as radiant as spring sunshine, spread across her face. It's all right even if she can't make honey anymore, as long as Nene's okay. Whoa. Hearing Ivy's words, Nene struggled, and for the first time, let out a soft, squeaky sound. Ivy's eyes widened in surprise. Nene! Nene, she... A dazzling pink light burst forth from Nene, lying on the metal instrument, radiating in all directions. Chapter 3? You're telling me this is a honeybug? The brilliant pink light flickered, as if it were alive, pulsing rhythmically. Nene, what's happening to Nene? Despite the blinding light, Ivy's first concern was still for the honeybug on the surgical table. Even though she couldn't open her eyes, she instinctively moved closer, step by step, feeling her way toward the table. The people in the adjacent room had also been alerted by the commotion. A young man with a buzz cut pushed open the door and strode out. He hadn't even spoken before the intense pink light forced him to squint. This is a pet beast evolving. His tone was filled with shock and disbelief. His life experience of more than a decade had taught him one thing. Evolving a pet beast was incredibly difficult and risky. In this world, natural evolution for pet beasts didn't exist. To trigger evolution, specific materials were required, and everything had to be aligned. Timing, location, and the right person. Evolving during combat? Completely impossible. Most beast masters spent weeks, even a month, in preparation, choosing the optimal location based on the pet beast's attributes and evolution requirements. And even with all those precautions, there was still a chance of failure. If evolution failed, the valuable materials would be wasted, and the pet beast's strength would be severely weakened for the next 1 to 3 months. Thus, beast masters treated evolution with the utmost seriousness. But this scene unfolding before him, is it not evolution? A normal pet beast couldn't create such a spectacle. Is it evolution? He just wanted to ask, how on earth is this happening? And what exactly is this evolving pet beast? The pink light continued for nearly a minute. Then, the glow gradually drew inward, converging onto the honeybee on the surgical table, forming a large cocoon that enveloped it. The pink cocoon radiated a soft, lustrous glow, looking like a giant pink gemstone or crystal. What is this? Ivy gasped softly, reaching out to touch the cocoon, then hesitating, afraid she might harm the honeybug inside. This is the cocooning phase, Asher explained. It's about to break free and emerge as a butterfly. Though no one should have known the honeybug's evolution process, Ivy found herself instinctively trusting Asher's words. The next second, crack, crack. The sound of something breaking echoed in the treatment room. All three turned their eyes to the glowing pink cocoon. The pink shell began to shatter bit by bit, and a sweet fragrance filled the air. This scent, it's kind of familiar. The young man sniffed the air, frowning. So familiar. What beast would emit such a sweet aroma? Before he could figure it out, the pink cocoon shattered entirely. Translucent pink wings unfurled slowly in midair. The edges of the wings had a delicate blue tint, and as they flapped, a shimmering, soft purple hue reflected in the light. It was like a creature from a dream, an ethereal being breaking free. Even Ivy, as a girl, was struck speechless by the sight. Asher and the young man beside him were equally stunned by the beauty of the newly evolved fairy butterfly. Asher was especially shocked by his own talent. The evolution path I saw was real. He activated his eye of insight and focused on the fairy butterfly again. The data on the panel had undergone a complete transformation. Pet beast, fairy butterfly. Attribute, fairy. Species, mid-grade extraordinary, low tier. Level, second tier, low level. Skills, sweet honey, wind blade, heart of protection. Status, the newly evolved fairy butterfly is in perfect condition, ready for battle, and possesses a strong desire to protect its beast master. Next to the panel, there was a scroll bar. Asher tried to slide it with his mind, but failed. He could sense it. It wasn't that he lacked the mental strength to control the panel. Rather, the remaining information hadn't been unlocked yet. Asher set aside his curiosity and attachment to that section for now. Whoa! The newly emerged fairy butterfly flapped its wings, moving slowly at first but appearing at Ivy's side in an instant. Nene! Ivy's face lit up with joy, tears streaming down as she reached out her hand. The fairy butterfly obediently perched on her arm, and as Ivy gently stroked it, her eyes shone with joy and excitement. "I'm so happy, Nene. You're safe. And you even evolved? As she spoke, she suddenly realized something was amiss. On the other side of the room, the young man who had witnessed the entire evolution process walked toward Asher, a look of suspicion and doubt in his eyes. Then, glancing at Ivy, his tone softened as he asked, "Miss, excuse me, was there some mistake in the procedure? What exactly is this pet beast? If there's any issue, I can help you check it again." Ivy hesitated, glancing at Asher. Asher coughed lightly, covering his mouth with his fist. Ivy's honeybug used sacrifice strike, so she brought it here for treatment. "Honeybug?" Ron frowned deeply. "Where's the honeybug? I don't see." He paused, his tone questioning, but his gaze had somehow already drifted to the fairy butterfly. That familiar pink color, that familiar sweet scent. Without anyone having to say it, Ron suddenly realized, isn't that the color and honey fragrance of a honeybug? Ron felt his mind going blank. At the honeybug? He pointed at the fairy butterfly, his hand shaking, his tall frame swaying as if he'd just seen Batman transform into Kim Kardashian right in front of him. "Unbelievable. I'm losing it. You're telling me this evolved from a honeybug?" Ron took a deep breath, pointing at the fairy butterfly. "Tell me this is a joke. Everyone knows honeybugs can't evolve. This has to be some creature that just looks like a honeybug, right?" The looks Asher and Ivy gave him were filled with the same emotions. A knowing smile, a look of respect, blessings. All that was missing was saying, "Whatever makes you happy, Ron." There was no point in denying it any longer. "My God, honeybugs can actually evolve? Am I crazy, or has the world gone mad? Calm down. I need to calm down." After an initial breakdown, Ron spun in place, muttering frantically to himself. "Calm down, my foot. The news that honeybugs can evolve will shake the entire Beast Master community." Chapter 4, Talent, Skill, Evolution. Even though Ron tried to convince himself, he couldn't quite believe it. A honeybug evolving? Those two words together just sounded absurd. Without saying a word, he walked into the small surveillance room and pulled up the footage. Every moment from when Ivy entered the Pet Beast Service Center with her honeybug up until the treatment room was captured in HD by the security cameras. The playback clearly showed that the pet beast in Ivy's arms was, without a doubt, a honeybug. Ron replayed the footage 3 times before he finally accepted the shocking reality. Holy shit, so honeybugs really can evolve? Just as he was about to watch it a 4th time, Asher spoke up. "Ron, if everything's in order, I'll head out. Miss Ivy is still waiting outside." Ron nodded. "All right, go ahead then." As Asher reached the door, Ron quickly called out, "By the way, remember to have Miss Ivy leave her contact information. The Alliance will definitely want to follow up on the honeybug's evolution." Asher had expected this. As he stepped out of the room, he could hear Ron on the phone, likely making a report. "Sorry to keep you waiting." Asher smiled apologetically as he walked back to the front desk where Ivy was waiting. Ivy shook her head. The fairy butterfly perched lightly on her arm. "It's fine. I should be thanking you for helping me save Nene." Ivy's eyes were filled with gratitude as she looked at him. She couldn't imagine what would have happened if Nene hadn't survived. Asher's voice interrupted her thoughts. "Just to confirm, the cost for using the Pet Beast life support machine is 16,000 Alliance coins, and the honey sac removal procedure costs 5,000, totaling 21,000 Alliance coins. As your first contracted pet beast, the honeybug qualifies for a 70% reimbursement under national policy. And since this is your first treatment visit, there's an additional 10% discount provided by the Alliance, so the final cost comes to 4,200 Alliance coins. 4,200 Alliance coins wasn't a small amount, but compared to the original price of 21,000, it was quite a relief. The benefits and support provided by the state and the Alliance for Beast Masters were indeed substantial. After paying, Ivy still had a decent amount of money left, showing just how determined she had been to save Nene. After settling the bill, Ivy looked at Asher with a hesitant expression. The whole matter of Nene's evolution. She didn't quite know how to bring it up, but Asher could see right through her thoughts. "Don't worry too much. Could you leave a contact number?" The Alliance may want to reach out to you about Nene's evolution. For a creature like the honeybug, which hadn't shown any signs of other forms for over 1,200 years, suddenly evolving was bound to draw attention. As Nene's beast master, Ivy would naturally receive a lot of interest as well. All right, Ivy thought about it briefly and agreed. The Alliance's long-standing reputation reassured her enough to trust them. After Ivy left, the front desk was quiet again, leaving Asher alone. He picked up the pet beast breeding manual he hadn't finished reading, his eyes on the pages but his mind replaying the day's events. Helping Nene evolve had validated his talent's authenticity, but it also came with a bit of a complication. The Alliance would undoubtedly keep a close watch on this. As the person who operated the machine and oversaw Nene's treatment, he wouldn't escape their scrutiny. Should I tell the truth? Or make something up? If I tell the truth, I'd have to explain how I knew exactly what to do to trigger Nene's evolution. If I make something up, I can't risk trying the same thing a second time. Both options had their pros and cons. Lost in thought, Asher activated his Eye of Insight. The crude panel projected itself a little above the book's pages, not obstructing his view of the information. From the security cameras, it would just look like he was reading. August XX. Fairy butterfly. August XX. Honeybug. July XX. Honeybug. Scrolling down, there was a long list of honeybugs with different dates, interspersed with records of other pet beasts. Asher clicked on the first entry. August 20. Fairy butterfly. This was another feature of his talent. In the absence of a beast, he could summon a record of every pet beast he'd observed before, complete with their basic details. He couldn't shake the feeling that his talent's name didn't quite do it justice, but for now, he couldn't think of anything more fitting. It'd have to do for now. Opening the fairy butterfly entry, Asher finally managed to access the information below the slider using a bit of his mental energy. Fairy butterfly's gift. Heart of Protection. Allows skills learned to be taught to contracted pet beasts. Fairy butterfly recognition level. 0 asterisk. Asher clicked on the asterisk next to recognition level. Recognition level. When a pet beast reaches 5,000 recognition points, you may perform a skill extraction. There is a chance to obtain the skill associated with the pet beast recognition level, which can then be taught to your contracted pet beast. Asher's mouth dropped slightly. He started to think what could he avial out of it. He was certain now. Eye of Insight was a name far too simple for the sheer capabilities of this skill. His fingers drummed on the book's pages. His talent's potential was beyond anything he could have anticipated. Since coming to this world and learning about the ranks and rules governing beast masters, he'd already outlined a plan for his future. Having awakened his beast space, he could contract a pet beast at any time. Once he did, he'd be promoted to a provisional beast master. But he hadn't made that move yet. The main reason was that finding the right initial contracted pet beast wasn't so easy. Take the honeybug, for example. According to the Eye of Insight, it barely qualified as a beast. It was only slightly more advanced than regular insects, with just a trace of stellar power that had altered its body and structure. Beyond that were low-level beasts, mid-level beasts, and high-level beasts. A pet beast's inherent rank was difficult to surpass. Evolution could bring about a small upgrade, but a pet beast's strength could always be enhanced through training and nurturing. From 1st tier to 9th tier. Tiers 1 through 3 were for ordinary pet beasts, Tiers 4 through 6 were for advanced pet beasts, and Tier 7 was for elite pet beasts. 8th tier, Ace pet beasts. 9th tier, Lord-level pet beasts. These corresponded to the human beast master ranks from 1st to 9th tier. Tiers 1 through 3 were junior beast masters. Tiers 4 through 6 were intermediate beast masters, and Tier 7 were advanced beast masters. 8th tier, Ace beast masters. 9th tier, Lord beast masters. Above the 9th tier lay the legendary god level, which no pet beast or beast master had ever reached. Chapter 5. Not just evolution and new world. The ranking of a pet beast sets a ceiling for its potential. Low-grade beasts can only reach the 7th tier at most. Mid-grade creatures can reach the 8th tier. High-grade creatures are capped at the 9th tier. The higher the rank, the more costly the pet beast. Prices start in the millions and can easily reach tens of millions. With this thought, Asher sighed deeply. If only I was from a wealthy family, I could have paid my way to the top. Then there's the matter of acquiring a pet beast, which commonly happens in one of three ways: catching and taming one in the wild, purchasing from a specialized breeding facility, or applying for one from the Alliance's pet beast breeding base. These options cater to different types of beast masters: commoners, those who can pay to win, and the truly lucky ones. Asher had applied for an Alliance-bred pet beast for 2 consecutive years, but his applications had both been rejected. He'd already submitted his application for this year. If nothing unexpected happened, he wouldn't make the cut this time either. Alliance-bred beasts were highly coveted, typically starting from low-grade, high-level. With proper nurturing, it was almost guaranteed to grow into an elite pet beast. The Alliance's fees were nearly free. 120 Alliance coins for the application fee, 650 for the specialized pet beast vaccine, and a month's supply of essential pet food. Apart from the application fee, the other costs were essential. No wonder applicants grew year after year. It's like preparing for the civil service exams, signing up every year, hoping each time, but never quite making it, Asher sighed. Yet here I am, still applying. People, after all, tend to hold on to a sliver of hope when it comes to lotteries, blind boxes, and any form of luck-based event. Who knows? Maybe this year, it'll be my turn. Asher couldn't help but think that way, too. It was only 120 Alliance coins. Why not give it a shot? If he couldn't get a spot in the Alliance breeding base, he'd just contract an evolving honeybug. Evolving from a low-grade creature, it could jump straight to a mid-grade, low-tier pet. The fairy butterfly's potential would be capped at the 7th or 8th tier. But with his talent now displaying new abilities, he had another option. Perhaps I can take my time selecting the perfect initial contracted pet beast. In the meantime, I can also study how to boost the recognition rating. Currently, Fairy Butterfly's recognition rating was still 0. At the New York City Alliance headquarters for Beast Masters, the receptionist was starting to wonder if she'd picked up a prank call. "Hello? How can I assist you today?" At first, she smiled as she took the call. But as she listened, her expression slowly shifted to one of disbelief. "A honeybug evolved? Are you sure you're not pulling my leg?" Hearing this, several co-workers who were free at the moment turned their attention to her. Huh. Is this the contender for this year's Weirdest Case of the Year award? The excitement in their eyes was palpable. "Go on, tell us more," they were all ears. However, the receptionist's smile became more and more forced. "You're saying you have photos and video? Sir, please don't joke about this. If this is real, please bring the evolved honeybug to the Alliance. Someone will be available to assist you." On the other end, Ron, he realized his mistake. Instead of calling the Alliance directly, he should have reported to his supervisor first. Without another word, Ron hung up. Hearing the dial tone, the receptionist assumed the prankster had backed out. "What a waste of time," she grumbled. "Every year, people try to start some big news story with these silly calls, right? What are they even trying to achieve? Do they think the Alliance's research budget is just for show?" A colleague agreed. After sharing a few words about odd callers, the receptionist went back to work. Ron wasn't a beast master, nor was he eligible to become one. He'd majored in pet beast care in college, and among the many possible jobs, he'd chosen to take the exam for a public position. In positions available to non-beast masters, an official role at a pet beast service center was highly sought after. The salary was decent, the benefits were good. Each village service center only needed one full-time staff member. Part-timers or temporary staff were only added under special circumstances, so there was little hassle with co-workers. Apart from dealing with difficult beast masters from time to time, it was a dream job for regular people. If you got in, you were set for life. It was a competitive role that thousands fought over. Landing the job had taken not only a lot of hard work, time, and effort, but also the guidance of his mentor. His mentor, Professor Iris, was a well-known researcher in New York City specializing in pet beast reproduction and evolution. Professor Iris had awakened a beast space, giving her the strength to tame beasts. But rather than becoming a beast master, she'd chosen to focus on pet beast research. To Ron, becoming her student was the luckiest thing that had ever happened to him. He saved the surveillance footage and sent it to his professor. Ron, Professor Iris, this happened today at the Pet Beast Service Center. I saw the honey bug evolve with my own eyes. After sending the message, Ron waited. Professor Iris was usually busy, so she might not see his message right away. But at the latest, she'd respond by 10 in the evening. Sure enough, at 9:50 p.m., a flurry of messages from Professor Iris appeared on his screen. Before he could even respond, her call came through. Ron quickly answered. Is the video you sent me real? That was a honey bug? Honey bugs can actually evolve? A butterfly emerging from a cocoon. So the honey bug's evolution path is indeed into a butterfly. I used to joke it'd probably turn into a big old moth. Where in New York City are you right now? I'm coming over immediately. Her mature voice buzzed with excitement, each sentence more excited than the last. By the end, it was as if she were about to burst through the phone. Ron, struggling to keep up, replied, Professor, I'm working at the Aspen Grove Village Pet Beast Service Center in New York City. Just come by in the morning. It's only a 3-hour drive. You should get a good night's rest and have energy for tomorrow. No need, no need. Professor Iris's voice was full of fervor. I feel very energized. There was no way to contain Professor Iris's excitement. It was a complete breakthrough. A honey bug that hadn't evolved in over 1,200 years had finally evolved. This was more than just discovering a new evolution path. It was a true breakthrough, a brand new direction for the world of beast masters. The New York City Research Center was the last place she wanted to be. She'd fly to the Aspen Grove Village Pet Beast Service Center if she could.
Don't forget to like and subscribe.